When was a time you smelled total balls and ended up being right? I'm an aspiring actor. I attended a presentation for 99 The Un Agency, a company that represents itself as an alternative kind of talent representative for people with 95s. Everything felt off, especially after they have this lengthy summary of all these roles they booked for their clients, which were mostly extra work. At some point the presenter said something like, "Of course, if this doesn't sound good to you can leave." Out of like 30 people, I was the only person who walked out. After doing some internet research, turns out they're essentially a scam that preys on would-be actors, charging to submit them to publicly available casting calls. They call themselves an un-agency because they legally can't refer to themselves as agents. They also monitor Reddit for negative posts about them, so I assume this comment will get reported at some point. If an agency ever asks for money upfront, run fast. A legit place only gets paid when you get paid. I told my boss that my paychecks weren't accurate and she said I wasn't calculating my taxes right. I told her I know that I was. I looked up my pay stubs online and found she was skimming about 4 hours of time off my check every week. I hope you contacted your state wage enforcement office. New manager at work was awful. The owner of the small company, Children's Entertainment, was a lovely person. Hired a manager because the business was rapidly growing and he had amazing credentials. He was a horrible person to work with. Mainly left senior staff alone, but would berate the younger junior staff to no end. Assign them impossible tasks, call them names, mock their intelligence. I had to step in a few times. Even as senior staff, he would patronize me. The strange thing is that he would correct me using completely wrong information, and he was constantly making mistakes and blaming junior staff. He didn't know what Excel was. I was using Excel and he told me to stop messaging my friends. I said it was a spreadsheet. He pointed at the spreadsheet and said no, that's some kind of messenger program. I would watch him charge $25, receive a $50 note, and give $45 in change. I had to stop him from washing the radio. He tried to put the radio in the sink and pressure wash it, etc. The junior staff had enough and called a meeting with the owner. The owner investigated his resume. His MBA was a lie. No university had a record of him enrolled anywhere. All his work experience was overseas, so when she managed to track all the contacts down, they had never heard of him. When I read A Million Little Pieces, I remember telling my sister that this James Frey guy was totally full of crap based on his descriptions of therapy and the inauthentic dialogue. None of it rang true, and it really ticked me off that this butthole would misrepresent therapy and rehabilitation so blatantly, all in an effort to make himself look more enlightened or something. He continues to publish terrible books and abuse every MFA student foolish enough to work with him. He has them write boilerplate your sci-fi novels and then puts his own name on the cover. I really hate that guy. I thought it was obvious it was balls too. I was actually surprised people got so pissed when they found out it was false because it seemed so obviously fictionalized. Well, no ex-friend claimed to the guy who just broke up with her that she was pregnant. Another friend and I told him it was bulls. She's just trying to get you to stay with her. Sure enough, her stories, to all three of us, weren't adding up, and soon after she lost the baby. My friend was telling me about her favorite teacher, who was so cool and really chill. She told me about how he had her friend, who was struggling with family problems and mental illness, making her vulnerable, on Snapchat, and immediately alarm bells went off, but she was sure that it was all good. I was going to report it, but the next day he was arrested for child P and having sex with a minor. Matched with some students on Tinder and had at least 14 female students on Snapchat. But yay, what a guy. 14 female students. He couldn't have possibly, though that was gonna end well. My then boyfriend's friend claimed she had brain cancer. After a year of dating, I got really suspicious. She was managing her cancer with only weed and benzos. She'd fall or have a seizure and would ask my boyfriend to come help her. I also never met her, which I thought was strange, since she was my BF's best friend. One day BF calls me up and says best friend just told me she doesn't actually have cancer. Least surprising thing I've ever heard, but you shouldn't really accuse someone of faking cancer. He stayed friends with her. What? We hired this guy who was talking about how he was this great engineer in Brazil. I used to live there, and he would pronounce all the Brazilian cities the way you would in Spanish, which is super suspicious. Lispies. Turns out he was a con artist, and had jobs at multiple companies which he all lost. My grandfather was watching me and my sister over a few days because my dad had spinal surgery and my mom went to go stay with him in the hospital. At this time I was about 10. Anyways, my grandfather went out to get me and my sister some Sonic because we were all getting a bit hungry. He comes back with the food, and not 15 minutes later he tells us his wallet is empty. He asks us if either one of us got into his wallet. We both reply with, no. Then he makes up an excuse and says that my mother had stolen it while he was asleep. She had left that day to go see my dad. I can obviously smell something fishy and he continues to tell us why he thinks his bull's excuse is correct. He calls my mom and asks her why she stole his money. The truth was he actually went out and bought a crap load of alcohol, got drunk, and made an excuse as to why all his money had disappeared. Mom came back the next day, told him to get the frick out of here, and don't come back. Still despise that man to this day. Kid randomly started talking to me in uni for almost no reason. I was having small talk with him and I ended up telling him about a small business I have been running for about a year. He says he would like to start a partnership with me. I was immediately skeptical but still interested. We end up meeting up to talk about said partnership and it turned out he was trying to recruit me for a pyramid scheme. Kid handed me a booklet and told me to read it and get back to him. I must have asked him about 5 times what exactly it was that he did and he couldn't give me a straight answer. Come to find out, as previously stated, that I was just a subject of recruitment into their bull's scheme upon research of the company he represented. I was at a market in Australia looking at these cheap counterfeit hats with American sports teams on them. As I was browsing, I heard the stall owner talking with a strange American-like accent. He said he was from Alabama. I'm from Georgia and whatever he had was not a southern accent. I'm 90% sure he was faking an American accent to match his fake hats. My ex-wife came home around 3 AM every night after closing at her new job which closed to the public at midnight. I found it odd that it took 3 hours to close up a McDonald's. The store was nice, but that's a long time. For about 3-4 months this went on. She always went into great detail about work the next day. This was way out of character for her. I knew something was up. One night before she left, I had to use her car for something and my work phone fell out of my pocket. I searched everywhere for it. Now, I can access my location history through either my work or personal phones as they're linked in at about 2 AM. It hits me. I can just use the Google location history to find it. I found it alright. In her car outside of some dude's house where it had been since 12:15 AM. Busted. I left her and upgraded. She downgraded like a MF. LOL, not even mad. A major indicator of lying is giving too many details. People telling the truth usually keep it simple. Liars tend to over-explain and say way more than they need to. It usually bites them in the butt since they now have to make sure all those details add up with the excessive detail in future stories. A struggling student from my long-term subbing placement who desperately wanted to do well in school but had a very difficult time keeping on top of their work understanding what they read. I wanted an evaluation. Admin told me it was too early in the year and to wait a few months. I knew something was wrong, but worked with the student and their family to keep them on top of their work to the best of my ability. Wouldn't you know, at the end of my placement, we got some news from the student's previous school. The student had been severely injured as a small child and may have a traumatic brain injury. This would, in turn, affect their organizational skills and some cognitive abilities. A formal evaluation was scheduled for after my placement ended. I knew something wasn't right. No one ever trusts a teacher's instincts. My cousin suddenly found a car Lego while mine was missing. I didn't think of it until my J from Lego Ninjago was gone and I was like HMMMMMMMMM. Then I told him he would rot in heck if he stole and lied, so he cried and gave me them back. I was 8, I think. A guy, M, 19 at the time, who I, F, 19 at the time, was barely dating said his crazy ex who had ghosted him was trying to contact him again. I told him to just block her number, but he wouldn't. Turns out, his crazy ex was his mentally challenged 14-year-old cousin who he would get BJs from. while promising to marry her someday. She was upset when she saw online that he had a girlfriend. My heart aches for that girl every day, and I dumped him like the shitbag he was. Jesus. What he is doing to his cousin is assault. Please tell someone. A friend was telling me about this deal he found online. I told him it was probably a scam. He said it wasn't. A week later, he came back to me complaining about getting scammed. Frick dude, this one time we were on vacation and a guy friend gets a video all black from someone he doesn't know with a big play button. I tell him not to do it. It's a virus. He says a virus can be transmitted by clicking a play button. So he clicks. Sure enough, the next day his account sent all of our friends and myself a black video with a play button dart. A teacher from high school creeped me out. Everyone loved him, but I smelled BS the moment I met him. Turns out he was sleeping with a student and was fired soon after that. Earlier today we had a tornado warning and my mom said to me open the window by the door. I ask why. Because it helps keep the tornado from tearing apart the house. I immediately turned around and said that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, and she had to stop and think about it since she couldn't come up with any reason as to why it'd help. Turns out she was told that as a kid 50 some odd years ago and hadn't questioned it since. If the wind is strong enough to tear apart the house, a window open or shut isn't going to make a lick of difference. But if it's not quite that strong, it is strong enough to rattle windows, particular older window frames, an open or shut window might be the difference between flying shards or glass or not. So opening your window won't save your house, but it might save your window. Grew up in a cult, Jehovah's Witnesses. Smelled the bulls around the time I was 18. At that point I was already baptized. About 2 years ago, age 25, I ended up being right about it being a cult. Big problem is, when I decide to leave, I lose my whole family and all my current friends. Growing up in a cult sucks. Reddit.com RX join us. My friend's on a off again boyfriend left her for good because he got a girl pregnant during their last off again spell. He ended things saying he needed to grow up and be there for this girl and his unborn child. My friend announced she was also pregnant with his child a few short days later, and put this dude through heck. I started thinking she was lying pretty early on in the pregnancy. She eventually convinces him to leave the girl, to be with her and their child. She conveniently had a miscarriage few weeks later. I confront her and tell her that either she tells the guy the truth, or I will. She acknowledged the lie but refused to tell the guy, so I told him. I stopped being her friend. He left her butt, and ended up very happily married with the other girl. Good on that guy for manning up and being there for his kid. I subleased an apartment from Craigslist because it was in my price range and on a bus route. They seemed really enthusiastic and helpful at first. I never trust people who seem super generous and eager when you first meet them. They're always hiding something. Turns out, I was right. This place sucks. I've been here for almost 2 years, and I've been charged a myriad of ridiculous fees for no reason. I've put up with drug users who party until 5 AM. Dog crap literally anywhere there's grass. Appliances don't work. That one lady downstairs who screams and bangs on the walls every couple of weeks. I reviewed them negatively on Google, and since then my AC has been randomly breaking, but only on Fridays, after maintenance goes home for the weekend. It's been consistently 85+ degrees in my apartment for days. The staff here are all really close, another red flag. Family-like work environments that only started noticing me and my experience here after I went public. I've sent multiple emails, all ignored, made multiple phone calls, half unanswered, made countless complaints, all with zero follow-up. Management refuses to help with a single thing, will deny that they knew about problems I've told them, and has a strict aversion to reliability and respect for their loyal tenants. They even write fake reviews on Google to make them look better. I'm considering getting a security camera because the staff here clearly have absolutely no moral compass to speak of. This place is so unbelievably sketchy. Not to mention one of the front office guys hit on me multiple times. TLDR. My apartment complex is run by dishonest, apathetic, predatory jerks. I don't know the rules in your area, but I would recommend documenting everything you can. If legal, I would even recommend a spy pen for audio video in case dude ups the hitting on you thing. This happened in grade 5 at my Catholic school. My friend, who I'm just gonna call David, lost his gel pens, which were really popular at the time, and everyone borrowed some from him. One time he left his desk for a few minutes and his gel pens were taken. I sat close to his desk but I didn't see anything. Nonetheless, he told the teacher and the teacher got everyone to check their desks. After I was done, I looked over to this girl. I'll just call her B since she was always one. And she opened her tray under her desk for 1 second, then freaking closed it straight away. Then she said she checked. I smelt balls. I told David about it and then we checked her desk as she got up for the bathroom, and what did we found? We found the motherfucking gel pens. We told the teacher straight away and B went to the principal's office. She's stolen a lot more after this. I do kapa haka, which is a traditional Maori performing arts. In the practices we have to do a lot of fitness and moving around so we can sing and dance at the same time. We have trainings on the Fridays. So at training, this girl walks in with a bad ankle. As soon as I saw her limping, I knew it was bull. She just didn't want to do the exercises or anything in that matter. She got caught out the next day for faking an injury and got cut from the team. My tutors are very strict and don't put with stunts like that. Fitness. Bro, I would class a large portion of my wano who do kapa haka up in kahunugnog. Yeah, that's how we say it, lol. And poor I ain't fit by any standards. Oh, they can sing and are mean with a pukana and go hard during a haka. But fit? Nope. My mum's ex. Met him the first time when I was like 10 and didn't like him. 7-8 years later his abusive behavior escalated. My mum ended up in hospital and I was nearly shot because he lost his temper one night. Haven't seen him since. Thank frick. But it took my mum about a year to leave him for good. When I was in college, I was looking for a job and saw a sales position in the help wanted section of the local paper. Called and asked if it was still available. They said yes. I could come in for an interview the next day. They told me to dress professionally, which I thought was weird. Why would a business tell me that? When I showed up to the address, I was escorted into a suite in a larger building and immediately, alarm bells went off. There were fun bright posters all over the wall. Pop music was playing, and there were 4 or 5 other college-age kids in nice suits holding their resumes waiting to be interviewed. A guy not much older than us came out and starts enthusiastically telling us how much money we're going to earn and how fun the company is. Didn't tell us what the name of the company was, what we would be doing, nothing. Just pitching us how much fun it would be and how much money we'd earn. Our resumes were taken and we had a weird group interview with introductions like it was an elementary school class. Then we were told to go see the manager one by one. When I went in, I said immediately that I didn't want the job and would like my resume back because I didn't want to be contacted. The manager said I hadn't turned in a resume but an application. I said, fine. Give me my application. She said they would destroy it. I said, I'll destroy it myself. This feels like a cult or something. She threatened to call security to escort me out. I got up to leave, went into the main room, even though she and the other guy demanded I leave through a side door, and told the other 4 applicants that this job didn't feel right and I thought it was a scam and I was leaving and I hoped they'd follow me. I left alone. None of the others came with. I think we were all just so desperate and poor that the promises of all the money to be made was too much. I still had no idea what the company name was or what the frick they did. A week later I got a call from the company, you know, the one I didn't want to be contacted by, the one who assured me they'd destroy my contact info. They said it was a shame I had decided we weren't a good fit but that if I wanted to buy their products or knew of anyone else who wanted in on the ground of their investment opportunity they would love to help. I found out during that phone conversation what the heck the company sold. The company was Vector Marketing, the seller of Cutco knives. A notorious MLM that preys on college kids. New VP of Sales Marketing at a former employer smelled like BS when I first met him, proved to be a total douche in the ensuing months. After 21 years with the company, I walked in one day and quit. I went on to bigger and better things and am now very happily retired since age 62. His wife left him after many years of marriage, took half of his retirement money so he and the people left working for him are stuck there until he reaches 70, maybe more. I got paid my expense claim early. Company had poor cash flow and never paid anything early. Rat was smelled. Suddenly something clicked. I went through the mail. It was a while ago. And by lunchtime me and business partner had worked out 6 different fraudulent methods used by our accounts person to siphon money off us. It explained the bad cash flow. We thought it was just growth. Directly led to us shedding all the staff, and it's just been the 2 of us for 20+ years since. Jussie Smollett. But so did everyone else. The minute I saw the hate mail he allegedly gotten, the letters and drawing were comically cliche, like something out of a 90s movie. This makes me so mad. It just reinforces all the fears real victims have when trying to decide to come forward. What a piece of crap. My friend's now ex-GF is a sociopathic, pathological liar, and she lies about every freaking thing. Still amazed how he could tolerate her for 3 years and not see through her lies. My brother said the dog drew on the wall when I was 11. It took me a year, but I gathered evidence and busted his lying butt. Ex told me she wanted an open relationship, but my first instinct was she cheated on me, and eventually she admitted to sleeping with her weed dealer the night before at a party. What made it worse was he was going to the same music festival as us the next week, so I'm assuming she would have slept with him then and tried to make it seem okay because of the open relationship. SMH. Toxic. There was some public outcry about a Muslim girl being assaulted and harassed by a Chinese guy in Toronto. It even got addressed by the PM. I smelled balls and said the story didn't make sense. Got promptly downvoted, which is the MO on the Toronto subreddit anyway. Sure as crap a few days later the girl admitted it was a hoax. Here in the US there are dozens of similar stories. It's unfortunate because stupid crap like that casts doubt on real instances. Ex-girlfriend told me she believed she was pregnant about 2 weeks after we split. She has an IUD. So I knew it was a little fishy. Ended up taking her to the gynecologist to get tests done, and a few days after told me she got a call and said she was pregnant. She then tells me she told her gyno she was going to have an abortion, and her gyno told her to take a plan B, eat pineapple and cinnamon, and she will miscarry the baby. Ex-girlfriend does this, claimed to miscarry child, and try to guilt me into coming back with her to take care of her since she was an emotional wreck after losing a child. All of this was bulls. She actually got a call and sent me the voicemail and it says she was all clear. This went on for about a month. She trapped me and emotional and mentally abused me. I'm so sorry that happened to you. I hope you're doing better now. In the first year of our relationship, my now wife was always suspiciously vague whenever Breaking Bad came up. She always said the same higher level talking points and nodded vigorously when people would talk about plot points but never really contributed to the conversation. I called her out eventually as having never seen the show, and she turned beet red and admitted she'd never seen it, but that I wasn't allowed to tell anyone because she was so sick of having people say, "Oh my god, you have to watch it. It's so good. I can't believe you haven't seen it." TLDR. My wife is a liar pants on fire. I was friends with a pathological liar when I was really young, ages 5 to 14. I knew pretty much everything about her. She told all the other kids that she had an older brother, that her dad died in a volcano, that her mum fostered kids, she had a horse in her backyard, and so many other things. I smelled balls on all of it cause I literally knew none of it was real. She only has sister. He dad was stabbed to death in their driveway by druggie. Her mum absolutely did not foster kids cause I went to her house literally every other day. There wasn't a freaking horse in her backyard cause there was no backyard. Everyone believed her bulls but me and my twin. I even told one of my friends that she was a liar when they became friends, and I became the bad guy for it. A few years down the line and my friend tells me that she a liar. Like no crap. Really? Having your dad stabbed to death at the tender age of 5-14 tends to frick people up. I hope she eventually got the help she needed. Met a guy on Bumble who said he was a computer engineer, but I looked for him online and found that he had no online presence at all. I confronted him and asked for evidence that he was who he said he was, and he told me I was being paranoid. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him. While having our drinks, I asked him to show me his id. It was obviously fake as it was poorly photoshopped. I confronted him and he still denied it. I started shaking because I knew he was shady, but I forced myself to believe his lying words rather than my very strong instinct. I dated him for a few months and he broke up with me abruptly. Don't ask me why I kept seeing him. That's a story for another day, but I lacked confidence and was scared of being alone. It was a dark time in my life. A few months later, his face showed up on my Facebook friend suggestions. He had been lying to me about literally everything he told me. He wasn't an engineer, he was a lawyer. He was still married and lived with his wife and 2 kids, and the name he told me was also a lie. I felt it from the very beginning, but for some reason, I was more willing to believe his lies than my instinct. I've learned a lot since then. Every February the company wouldn't pay us complete wages because February isn't a full month. No amount of arguing would change the payroll lady's mind. When I left the company I went through DWP, and they claimed back all my missing money for each February that I worked there. Freaking idiot. That lady was. Teresa, you moron. My ex-friend and his ex-boyfriend Jake lived in another city, so for a while they had a long-distance relationship. When we met, he went out of his way to please everyone. Suggested ordering food, he's paying. Want to visit some place? He will manage the trip. Care for a chewing gum? Here you go. Bought it just in case. This didn't sit well with me for some reason. I felt like he was only pretending to be nice. A year into their relationship and started complaining that Jake became jealous. Sometimes we'd go for a walk, and if he called her, she would give me the phone to say hi and prove she wasn't with some other guy. She moved to his city later and stayed in his apartment. He quit his job, started drinking and smoking weed, and eventually kicked her out of his apartment. I told her that he wasn't a good person, but she didn't believe me for a very long time. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.